This is your favorite international radio network, 94.3 Radio 1. And on the show with me today, I have a person who is a songwriter as well as a performer. And the beauty of his music is, I could maybe put it under Sufi music, but I think it's more than that. It's where he says that he's trying to reach out to a space where he feels safe, and he also wants to make others feel safe in the space. It's Alif on the show with me today. Alif, really nice to have you on the show. Warm welcome.
Adab was Annie and Adab was to everybody listening.
Alif, growing up, like you said, engineering and MBA, that was something you were pushed to do, which means you had a corporate job some point in time.
I did. I grew up in Kashmir, born and raised there, and then the only option that I was given was to either become an engineer or doctor. To my maternal side, they were all doctors. My father's side, they were all engineers. So
Wow.
I happened to do engineering,
Uh-huh.
but I always knew that I had an inclination towards writing, and and that's what I do now.
Oh, that's brilliant. When you say songwriting, and when you're writing songs that you feel safe in, does this also bring in the issues, or does this also bring in situations that you grew up in that you wished were better than how they were when you were growing up?
So I think I absolutely believe in the concept of choices and how you react to it. And there are some things that you choose and some things that are chosen for you.
Right.
And the fact that I was born and raised there, it was not my choice. I happened to be there, and what do I do with that? I perhaps started writing diaries, which led to writing and reading poetry, and eventually I realized that poetry makes me feel safe, because in very less words आप ऐसी बात कह सकते हैं जो आपके अंदर तप रही है.
Right.
And you don't want people to directly understand it, because you feel embarrassed and ashamed of if they understand it directly. So more than many times I have been complicit, and I have been put at a place by my team managements and to write a hit song or write songs that directly people understand. But but then it's been an introvert extrovert journey, and henceforth that whole process of sharing everything that I feel. Some people get it, some people don't get it, but it's a beautiful journey.
Wow, that's lovely. Can you say a few lines of maybe one of the first poems you wrote in your life, Alif?
I cannot say if the first one. The first could be Dear Muneem, how are you today? What I did today, and I'm scared by mom. मुझे डर लगने लगा है कि जो मैं यहाँ पे लिखता हूँ वो कोई पढ़ ना ले या कोई समझे ना. So these are simple things. And then when you go and when you want to write the same thing without people understanding, you would write to, even if my mom or my parents or anybody reads, you would love to say, or you would want to say something like अब के शामिल है मुझ में खामोशी, अब के शामिल है मुझ में खामोशी, कोई सुनता भी हो तो क्या होगा.
Wow.
So as simple as that.
That is so sweet. That is so sweet. Lovely.
So yeah. And then you compose it, and then you sing it. And for me, what has happened, I almost not many times I listen to music or poetry. I listen to other art forms because for me, where poetry stops, composition takes it further. Nice. And where composition stops, singing takes it further. And where singing stops, filmmaking takes us further. So everything that I do with Alif, be it from filmmaking, writing scripts, or teaching songwriting and poetry in symbiosis since 2014, it has always been a journey where I have made a lot of mistakes, and I think that has been my thing. And wonderful, sometimes you get into misunderstandings with people. Sometimes they don't understand you. Sometimes you want to keep it inside. Sometimes you don't know what to do with it. Yeah. And more than many times, my art has saved me.
Tell me, Alif, at the Mahindra Roots Festival, where all these folk forms are coming together, whether it is the traditional form or whether it is the modern form, where do you see yourself? What genre would you call your work will come under?
I don't think there's a genre.
Okay.
And I feel as we are growing in the times and how things are happening with internet age and जितने भी सारे मामलात हो रहे हैं आजकल दुनिया भर में,
जी
मेरे ख्याल से जॉनर तो है ही नहीं आजकल. आप कौन सी लैंग्वेज इस्तेमाल करते हैं अपनी बात कहने के लिए या अपने जज्बात का इजहार करने के लिए, बस वो मैटर करता है. एंड कभी कभार तो लफ्ज भी नहीं होते उसमें. You just
Right.
want to do up and all that. So that doesn't matter. All that matters is the moment it is out of me,
Mm.
when it reaches the listener's ears, what effect does it leave? What does it make him feel? Does it make him feel anxious, melancholic, drained, happy, moody, safe? वो सारे मामलात, वो सारे bonus चीजें हैं. And that
Sure.
depends on the way you make a sound of it. And
Sure.
sometimes you have tara, or sometimes you have some Rajasthani folk elements to it. And with Alif, I never thought of it to be any genre. I always thought of it to be presenting, sharing a piece of myself, and I'm grateful that ahista ahista people have started receiving it with warmth and love. It's beautiful.
Nice. Tell us when you are going to be performing exactly.
So yeah, we shall be performing on 26th of Feb, 7:15 pe.
All right, something to definitely look forward to. And what are the recent poems that you've been writing about? Does it all have only love in them, or have you been affected by the happenings around the world? Because the past 2 or 3 years haven't been very good for anyone, for that matter.
I think like as long as you're open and empty, anything can end. And the problem starts happening when you don't unempty yourself, if that's a word, if I can say. तो मतलब इतने सिर्फ सालों से सिर्फ एक चीज मैंने सीखा था कि कैसे you fill yourself and empty yourself. And if there is a specific thing that these days I'm writing songs about, or poems about, or composing, just these days extremely personal things with regards to my journey and things that I've covered recently about myself. Yeah, about that.
Oh, that's pretty. That's very, very good. So it's more to do with, I think, when you say that you're writing songs that have affected you in some form or the other, from the time you started writing poems or songs, Alif, it seems to me like you have been on therapy ever since. You've learned to unlearn things that probably you didn't want to know. And then you've also kind of, learned to heal yourself through it. And that's extremely important because wherever you were growing up with tensions around all the time, with a lot of pressure for various reasons, whether it is social issues or others all the time, to be able to stay away from it, or to be able to bring yourself out of it and look at it, very in a different perspective, or just as yet another human with issues and how to deal with it. I mean, I'm sure your poems have helped you heal.
I would like to approach this. I remember there was a song by Pink Floyd where there's a line, I don't remember the song name, but there's a line that things go down south or down spiral in when you reach for a secret a little early than you're supposed to.
Yeah.
So when you reach out for the secret and you kind of understand the secret and then you realize it, things you start asking, it's not the answers that matter, it's the questions that trouble you. And with me, I have always seen the pattern of when I start asking questions, it's always the questions that trouble me, not the answers. And sometimes if I have one question that leads to another question and another question, and it is always a give and take, and like you said that the healing process is more like a catharsis. It will happen to you. And again, coming back to the choice, what do you do with it? It's like a sine wave. Someday you or get up in the morning and you think, what am I going to do? Because so much is happening around you. And the next moment you pick up the guitar, you compose a song out of it. And it just flows out. It's like वो गंध आपके अंदर से निकल जाती है.
Right.
So it has been like that. And sometimes when people listen to it and they think that it is for them, they reach out. And that's the most humbling and beautiful feeling, when somebody writes me a message saying that, your falana dimkana line really changed, or that emotion, that melody changed, gave me a feeling of I belong. I think what else is more beautiful?
Well, that's so nice. You mentioned Pink Floyd, which means you have been exposed to a healthy amount of international music. Tell us on some of the music you grew up listening to.
I am a big fan of Mr. Farooq Balsara, Freddie Mercury, and I think there was no one as special as him, and he did it his way. And then I'm a big fan of Queen, and back at those times, I'm looking forward to what U2 does with Songs to Surrender, that they're igniting or rendering the songs, and I have heard a lot of classic songs in the new international music. I sometimes really the intense songs of Coldplay really resonate with me. For example, Daddy is a song that I resonate with, and a lot of Radiohead. That's what I listen to, and these are a thing. And I find a song and I go into the repetition of listening to that for days and days and days and days. I don't listen to anything.
Writing poems, it came very naturally and organically to you, and you decided that this is something that's going to keep you happy, kind of help you satiate your passion, and maybe give you purpose in life. So if youngsters come up to you and ask you, how come you took that decision? Because sometimes it's very difficult for youngsters to take that decision. You have to get you have to have the support of family. You have to have the support of friends maybe around you. But when they want to make that decision for themselves, what is the advice you give them?
I know it for sure. It did not come naturally to me, for sure. What came naturally to me was composing, for sure, and writing poems. I had to really work hard in getting the meters in place, finding a way how to express myself the way I want, and there are certain rules. That's why I teach songwriting and poetry. Ghazal, if you take a genre which is ghazal writing, so you cannot say that your poem or your ghazal or your shairi is ghazal unless and until it is in a mathematical formula or something. अब अगर जब वो मैथमेटिकल फॉर्मूला पे आप सोचने जाते हैं तो आप या तो मैथमेटिक्स उसका फॉर्मूला कर ले, या तो आप अपने दिल के जज्बात कह ले. ठीक है, तो दोनों चीजें सीखने के लिए उसमें आपका ज़र्फ लगता है, उसमें आपकी कैपेसिटी लगती है, आप कितने घंटे देंगे. अब कोई नेचुरली जो पैदाइश से होता है उसको मे बी उसको लिखने में 1 घंटा मिल जाएगा, 1 घंटे में वो लिख लेगा. मुझे मालूम है, मुझे उसी 1 घंटे को लिखने के लिए पहले 1000 घंटे लगते थे, या 500 घंटे लगते थे, या 25 घंटे लगते थे. तो नाउ आप पे डिपेंड है. The onus is on you. Are you ready to spend those many extra hours for it to come out? Because I believe, you asked me what do I tell people who come up to me or my students. I always tell them in the workshops that I do. My workshop is called Sarire Khama, which means जब कलम कागज पे लिखता है ना ऐसे, ये आवाज जो होती है, इस आवाज को बोलते हैं सरीर खामा. एंड आई ऑलवेज टेल देम, सब शायर है, बातिन कुछ कुछ जाहिर है. बातिन मींस इनसाइड, जाहिर मींस आउटसाइड. सब शायर है, बातिन कुछ कुछ जाहिर है. अब जो ये बातिन से जाहिर वाला मामला है, दिस ब्रिज दैट यू हैव, दैट्स व्हेन यू पिक अप अ पेन and start writing.
Yeah. Beautifully said. Beautifully said, and even demonstrated for that matter. Alif, thank you so much. Before we close the session, I'd love you to sing or say a few words of any one of your poems, I'd really love to hear it.
So this is a 1-day-old thing. Like I said, these days
Wow.
I'm doing, yeah. So it's like, कौन पूछेगा कैसे हो तुम, क्या हुआ ये आलम में करार जो मिला, मुझको मेरे नाम याद मिला, फिर भी जाने क्यों रात बाकी है, कैसे हो तुम बाकी है, कौन बोलेगा दोहराने से क्या मिला, चारा घर ने जो कहा वो करूं, कोशिश बीमार ना रहूं, फिर भी जाने क्यों कैसा हूँ मैं आज सवाल करने लगा, मानेगा मुझ पे इल्जाम जो लगा. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, Alif. And I'm sure the performance is going to be top of the world and top of the class on the 26th, 7:15. Don't forget Mahindra Roots Festival, the first ever time that Mahindra is putting this together. It's in the city of Mumbai. So in case you happen to be in the city of Mumbai, this is not something you should miss. Alif, thank you once again and all the very best, and do keep up the good work.
94.3 Radio 1.